Yesterday, December 14th, 2025, the worst possible thing happened at the home of famous director and actor Rob Reiner. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Yesterday, around 3:30 in the afternoon, police responded to a phone call in Brentwood, California. They showed up at the home of famous actor and director Rob Reiner. And what they found when they entered the home were the unalived bodies of Rob as well as his wife, Michelle. I was live last night, and a lot of people were asking me, did you hear what happened? Did you hear what happened? And I hadn't heard. And I don't know how many people, like really, especially young people, I don't know how much, if you understand how much of an impact Rob Reiner made on several decades through his acting. He was Meathead in All in the Family, one of the most controversial shows that's ever been on. Then he went on to direct some of the most iconic movies of the 80s and 90s. To hear that he was like, him and his wife were found unalived, having been stabbed, their lives being taken by multiple stab wounds. And when I looked into it, when I got off the live and I looked into it, the main person being questioned at the time was Rob and Michelle's son. And after the live, when, I was discussing it with some other people, the question was asked, like, what do you think it was? And immediately, without any hesitation, my response was, if it's the son, it was drugs. And I saw an excellent short this morning, right before I got on right now, by JD Delay. Make sure you guys go over there and check out the short. He has a lot of details. But in it, he confirms that he's been able to find, or he's heard, I guess they did a documentary together, Rob and his son, and they were detailing some of the troubles of the son's past, and one of those being addiction. Anyone who has a loved one who is dealing with addiction, struggling with addiction, I think at some point we all understand that when someone is really, really suffering and struggling with an addiction, the loved one that you knew is no longer there. They're a shell of their old selves. The outside it looks similar to the loved one that you grew up with and that you knew and you loved. But what's going on the inside it's the addiction. I tend to say it's a demon. I have a family member who, he was one of my favorite cousins, always growing up. And when I see him or when I converse with him, the person, my cousin that I grew up with, isn't there. It's something else. And so when I heard about what happened to Rob and his wife, Michelle, like I said, I didn't hesitate to immediately say it had to be drugs. If they're talking to the son, drugs had to be involved. Something had to be in play. Does that justify the behavior? Absolutely not. He's going to go away. Who knows if he's even all there right now? I've seen in prison where there were these two guys that were very, 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 like, good homies, from different neighborhoods. And they went on a run. And the run ended with one taking the life of the other one in the cell. And when he was taken to Ad Seg and he came down and he realized what he had done, the dude basically went insane. Rob lived to be 78 years old. Michelle lived to be 68. You know, some could say they lived a long life and a happy life, but it shouldn't be over. When a life is ended without it being natural causes, it ain't right. When someone is unalived by their own child, that's probably the worst thing that can happen. And then when you really sit back and you think of the brutality of the weapon being a knife, I don't know who was attacked first, but just think, one was being attacked and probably pleading with their son, stop, what are you doing? While the other parent was probably trying to stop the incident, again pleading with their child, stop. But their child had lost their mind, was under the spell of some kind of substance, some drug. I could imagine the son probably being spoiled his whole life. I'm not going to lie. And I'm going to ask, how many of you thought of the same thing? The Menendez brothers. When I heard about it and I started getting more details, I thought of the Menendez brothers. People, you know, their story's different, their situation's different, but the end was the same. They killed their parents. They unalived their mother and father. And by all accounts, the mother, a lot of people were like, why her? But with this Rob Reiner incident, why them? The son is going to go to prison. Well, let me say this. He's going to be charged. Allegedly, he's the main suspect. So if he's the main suspect, he will be charged. The evidence will be presented. Unfortunately, we're going to find out the details on what happened inside that home. And not one thing said will make any sense to us. Who does that to their own family, let alone their own mother and father? And I don't want to be graphic or gruesome, but let me tell you something. Unaliving someone with a gun, it only takes a second. The deed is done. Unaliving someone with a knife, it takes time. It's an act that has to be repeated over and over. The motion over and over. And it was done to two people. So one watched and was probably suffering injuries trying to break this up. I can't imagine it. But this person, the son, if he's convicted, he will never see the streets again. Who knows what it's going to do to his mind? I mean, I don't know. In my mind, I'm like, he had to have been in some kind of impaired state. But maybe this person's mind was I don't even have the words. But maybe this person had already started to lose touch of reality. Sooner or later, the reality will set in for him. And when that day happens, who knows what the outcome will be. That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.